France, All Blacks, Stade de France. I mean, the biggest game of the weekend, just in my opinion. And I guess we kind of anticipated that it'll probably be the best game as well. Just looking at the current form, looking at how the All Blacks are making a resurgence, and then looking at the French. I mean, that French team in France is nearly unbeatable. The last time they lost there obviously was in the World Cup. And yeah, what a close game that was as well. 1 point separating it as well. I was lucky as well predicting this game, saying France will win by exactly 1 point. But I did predict the 29-28 scoreline. So it was a little bit off, but I'll take the 1 point, right? But what a game. I mean, backwards and forwards, game of two halves. I mean, New Zealand looked at the start. There was an injury to France at the start. Their starting prop, he had to go off. The All Blacks looked like they're just going to demolish him. I mean, up 14-3, I believe, at one point, and just looking really good. Cam Roigard was just playing magnificently, the number 9 for the All Blacks, finally getting a start. But then the second half, the French come back. So we'll run through the timeline. We'll go through the highlights there in the bottom right for you. So if you do want to watch it while we're talking about it, you can do that as well. And yeah, what a game. Like, I called it before the round. I said, this is the game I'm looking most forward to. I am a Springbok supporter. And this, to me, was still the most exciting game that I wanted to watch because I knew it'll have the most in it, right? Which it didn't disappoint. It really didn't disappoint. The crowd, the atmosphere, it was insane. I mean, the haka, right? So before the game, the whole stadium is blacked out apart from a light on the French team and one light on the All Blacks doing the haka. It felt like, you're in a theater play. That's what it really felt like. The crowd was quiet during the haka. So it's really a spectacle where, some crowds want to sing over it. And that's great. Like, I've played in New Zealand. I went to school there. I did a haka for our school as well. Not very good, mind you, but we still did a haka. And, the haka, people always go, oh, you need to show respect. You need to be quiet for the haka. Man, when we were at school, you'd do a haka against the school and they'll do their haka back. You meet her halfway. I mean, there was sometimes where a fight breaks out, but most of the time, you run each other's face and you push each other or something. Not me though, because I'm usually at the back because I'm absolutely crap at it. Tried my hardest, but I was just no good at it. But everyone in the front, they're pushing and shoving. And then after that, they shake hands and, get on with the job. And that's what the French shown. They've shown great respect. The English did the approach. They walked up. The Irish walked up. And kind of funny, right? Because the one team that showed respect to the haka beat them. The other two teams wanted to take the challenge head on, and it didn't work out. So it's always those kind of funny mind games that they play, but it just didn't work out. But let's get to the actual game. So France 30, New Zealand 29. The halftime score 17-10 to New Zealand. The referee, Nika Amushakeli, and I believe he is from Georgia. But yeah, 61% to 39% to New Zealand in possession. And watching the game, you wouldn't believe it. You would really not think so, but that's how dangerous the French are. They don't even need the ball and they're going to score points. They had a few long, just from turnover, they'll put a kick through and their fast winger will get through and score a try. So they really play that. I guess they kind of found out what the Springboks are doing with little super fast wingers, and they did the exact same thing. And their wingers are probably even quicker, to be honest. They're probably the fastest wingers in the whole game, just in my opinion. And very tough little buggers, good in the breakdowns, everything. And they're so skinny and small. It's crazy. Now let's go through it. So try scorers were Louis Biarret, Romain Barros, and Paul Bourdinet. And for New Zealand, Peter Lakai and Cam Roigard, who had a cracker of a game. So many penalties, 4 penalties to McKenzie, 1 to Bowden Barrett, 3 to Thomas Ramos. I mean, Ramos had a great game. In my opinion, Jalibert, who had a cry because he didn't get picked. I mean, I've never seen that before. Because you're not going to play a whole game, or because you weren't picked as the main 10, you have a cry and you take a stance against the team, your own team, who you're supposed to call brothers, who you're supposed to, like I've said in the past, I've played since I've been 5 years old. I'm still playing now at 31, playing still for club, A grade sort of thing. So first grade, or however you want to call it. And you would never do that just because you get dropped. If I get dropped to reserve grade, that's fine. You're going to work harder. You want to get back in that team. You want to put pressure on them. And that's how you create better teams, is by creating depth, by going, anyone can make that team. If you have a couple bad games, you could be taken off and then you can make your way back in again. You got to fight for that jersey. And as many teams say, it's not about having the jersey or passing it on. It's about passing it on in a better condition. And that's the main thing that a lot of teams do. And what a game it was. So let's get into this one here. So we'll go through the timeline. So Thomas Ramos gets a penalty 7 minutes in. The French at this point were all over the All Blacks. They were all over them at the start of the game. Looked really, really good. And then you can see here. So Peter Lacaille gets a try in the 9th minute. But yeah, I think, the injury to the starting prop for France was a bit of a bad one. I think their scrum started really looking very average after that. So that's the penalty there. I mean, it's 52-meter penalty, right? Not even at elevation. Great ball by Tamaiti. Great ball through there. I mean, just All Blacks look great. I mean, look at this try. Just offload. Savia just like breaking 3 tackles, offload. And then same thing with Lacaille. He had to come on because the tackle that injured the 3 for France also knocked out the New Zealand player, and he couldn't come back on either. And just so you could see there, right? So the 3 who came on for France was just getting smoked in the scrum. And that's the Cam Roigard try. I mean, I don't know how he caught this. You can just see it there. So making it, that try there, putting up 14 points to 3 at that point. And that's about 27 minutes in. I mean, I wish they would show it. So it's Cam Roigard. He's come off the back, tackled the 8 after they had a bit of pressure. So the 8 kind of is, Roigard's kind of behind him and he's trying to offload it to the next player. And Roigard just sticks a hand out, grabs it, and runs through and scores a try. It's such a heads-up play. It's crazy. And this is where the French clawed it back again. You can see here by Romain Barros. So just tough, strong, in the middle, big French game. And then they just bring it out wide. Barros, who's starting at fullback because of Jalibert having a bit of a sook, which pushed Thomas Ramos into 10. And you'll see here now, another penalty for Beauden Barrett as well. I mean, yeah, yet again, few penalties called in this game by the TMO. That was not one of them, but a few croc rolls and things, and the blocking the chaser, and yeah, they kind of just need to take a step back. You don't need to be involved every single play, TMO. You don't need to be involved all the damn time. So this is the second half now. So it starts off with a try from the French. Well worked. Switching the point of attack, switching the maul to another one. And you've seen a few teams kind of put this into the game now as well, which is very smart. And this is what I mean by the French don't need the ball to be, they don't need possession. Because look at the pace. Just the absolute pace here. Just Leonard Brown, Severis, they looked slow. They actually looked very slow against Louis Biarré, who's just a super fast little cheeky winger, in my opinion. You'll see here. So this is the penalty. Damien McKenzie. I mean, Tamaiti, if he gets that offload, Scott could have been straight under the post there. So a great tackle and just ball slipped out of his hands. That could have changed the whole game right there as well. Yeah, that pushes it to 24-20. McKenzie just slotting it straight over. His kicking has been much better in the last few games. I got to say, McKenzie's he's hitting at a very high percentage now. Where when he first went into the 10 position, his kicking wasn't going the best. And here's another penalty for, a bit of a tough one here. I remember watching this actually because Scott Barrett got pinged for coming around the side, Cody Taylor, and he came straight through the middle. That was a tough penalty, but, these penalties happen, unfortunately. So second half, I mean, just penalty after penalty. You get one down one in penalty, you get down that in penalty. Now it comes into the 62nd minute here. You can see it'll be another penalty here for the ABs. They had the chance as well, to try and score a try. They had a lot of possession leading up to this with a couple penalty advantages, and it just seems they didn't make the most of it. The French defense was really, really solid. You can see McKenzie with another penalty right there as well, and then another penalty as well a few minutes later. See what I mean? But All Blacks, at this point in the game, they were very dangerous. They were there the whole time. They were pretty much camped in the French half, but just couldn't make the most of it. Nearly like the English in that Springbok game for the last 10 minutes, where they were just down there the whole time, but just couldn't get the points, which is a testament to the French, defense. They really did very well. There was a few very tough penalties in this game. I mean, both ways as well. So not just leaning towards one way, but this is one of them right here. Yeah, that was one of them where the penalty was yet again called for a croc roll when it wasn't, because Tuanga Fasi was going into it, and it was just his own player came from behind to push into him, and it didn't even, he didn't even roll his neck, and the ref called a penalty. So yeah, a bit of a tough one. But here again, the ABs put the pressure on the ruck. They go for post. So this was a bit of a controversial one because Scott Barrett, Damien McKenzie, it looks like the team, knew they're going to go for post. And then Scott Robinson at the end of the game kind of made it seem that, if it was up to the coaches, they would have gone for it. They would have gone to sideline. So bit of disconnect there. But we've seen the Springboks of Rusty at the World Cup, where whenever there needed to be a call made, you could see, you remember he had the green light and the red light, for example. So, that's where with super loud crowds, things like that, if your mics aren't going to work, Rusty or, for example, Scott Robertson could have been saying through the mic, go for the sideline. And then they can't hear on the field because those crowds are that loud that you can't hear. That's why you see in the NFL, they have the helmets and they got the microphone in them with a helmet on, and they still have to go like this to actually be able to hear whatever the play is that their coach is calling. So maybe something to look at in future when they play at a big stadium like the Stade de France. And I mean, what a spectacle, right? I mean, watching it live and you're just thinking the crowd is so loud, singing the whole time, chanting every single point the French get. They're all waving those little flags around, and just would have been a great time. I mean, they were even there, 20, 30 minutes after the whistle blew. Most of the crowd was still there and they're all chanting and screaming still. So, I love that rugby is getting bigger and bigger in France, and it starts with their strong top 14 competition, where it's just getting stronger and stronger and they're getting better and better players. Where you look at the English league, it's kind of deteriorating, right? I mean, not a lot of money in the English Premier League, Premiership anymore for rugby. Then you look at the Welsh one, is 4 teams too many, probably. Then you look at the Irish, it's really worked out really well for the URC. The URC for South Africa has worked out really well. And it's also worked out well for the Scots as well. They're getting stronger and stronger as well. So it's funny how the different leagues are kind of reacting differently. I mean, the Australians, I live in Australia, right? So I hear it all the time that we should break off from Super Rugby, make our own competition, all that type of stuff, because it's a lot of money involved. And unfortunately for rugby union in Australia, there's not enough free games on TV. So a lot of the people don't see the games. And that's where they're missing, a lot of their key market. They want kids to watch the game, but they're just not being able to watch it, which is quite sad. Otherwise, you got to spend a ton of money to go get the channels on Sky TV, whatever it might be. Or you have to have a certain streaming service, which you also got to pay for like $25, $30 a month as well. So a lot of people just say, no, I'm not going to do it just for rugby. Where I do it, it's we watch it on Stan Sport here in Australia. So you get to watch all the big games live and you can watch the replays and et cetera, et cetera. But great game. I mean, loved it. Loved every single second of it. Loved the feeling. Good commentary. That's what I mean by that. Really, it was a game of 4 quarters, right? I mean, first quarter, the All Blacks owned them. Then the second quarter, the French clawed back again, bringing it within 7. Then you got the start of the next quarter again. The French just all over the All Blacks. Then the last quarter, the All Blacks are coming back and trying to win the game at the end. So love watching it. Great game. But yet again, do the All Blacks trust their substitutions enough? Do they not? Do they bring him up too late? You never know. It just seems Scott Robinson doesn't want to do changes too early. He always looks around as he can see the 62nd, 67th minute. And I think, as a prop these days, Tamati can get away with it because obviously the number 3 who came on, he had to play pretty much a whole game nearly for the French. But Cody Taylor, he plays a lot of minutes. He's getting older. And Tyrell Lomax, he's not getting any younger either. But, very experienced and a lot of minutes in Lomax. So hopefully they don't overuse him and break him down because he's got many more years in him, I think. He's a great player. And you can see the French brought on, number 1 and number 2, the substitutions in the 49th minute. Even the number 4 as well, number 8 as well. So they're very much trying to, I guess, bring a bomb squad on themselves as well, right? But let's go through it. A few players that really stood out. Obviously, Dupont had another good game. He's one of those players like Peter Steff who never has a game under 8. He's always at 8 out of 10 at least. But every single game. And even Aldrit, the number 8, he played well as well. But Cam Roygaard, for me, really stood out for the ABs. I mean, then Scott Barrett, Tupovai, I mean, both the 4 and 5, they really stood up. Their line out is, like I've said in the past, their line out is like a top 3 in the world, if not top 2, if not even the best. They've given all these teams problems against South Africa, Australia, Argentina, the French, the English, the Irish. They steal balls off of all of them. And yeah, Tupovai is one of the big reasons for that. And Scott Barrett as well, having that bit of experience, just really shows how good of a player he is. I do believe that, Scott Robinson should have come out after the game instead of going, that was not my choice to go for that kick at the end. Instead of going for the sideline, he should have just said, I back Barrett's call. He's the captain and he thought it was the right decision. But obviously, sometimes you got to look to the sideline if you're not sure, right? But they seem pretty confident. And the way the game was going, it was a bit of a penalty. So obviously the All Blacks thought we're going to get back down there and we're going to hopefully get a penalty and kick it over. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Ardie Savea, far out. You just think he can't get any better, but he just keeps playing, breaking tackles left, right, and center. The guy never gets smashed. It's the very odd occasion he does. His defense is great. His ball stealing. He's always on every single ruck. Man, that guy really stood out to me. And Caleb Clark, he looks so dangerous every time he touches the ball. Will Jordan as well, he played really, really well. Those are all standouts to me, but if I had to pick probably a player of the match for the All Blacks, it would probably be Ardie Savea for me. And then for the French, like I said, Thomas Ramos played really, really well. Dupont even went to 10 for a bit, Ramos back to fullback. And I think that's really who stood out for me was Thomas Ramos with his goal kicking. He made every kick, made one from over 50. And at the end of the day, that was the difference, right? 1 point. So he misses one of them, they might lose. So I think Thomas Ramos to me was the player of the day for me. Just purely great kicking. He controlled the game quite well. Even when they were down under pressure, he didn't try to do anything stupid. He did a couple good cross-field kicks, things like that as well. So bravo to the French. That's probably going to shake up the world rankings a little bit. So we'll have to have a look at that. Hopefully they do actually have the updated world rankings. Let's have a look. No, so they haven't updated it yet. So this was probably from last week. So South Africa obviously back to 1, New Zealand to 2. France will obviously number 4. They're probably still going to be number 4. Ireland will still be might actually jump up back to number 2 again, I think, after getting the win against Argentina, because New Zealand will lose a few points for losing as well. Argentina will probably stay exactly where they are. Scotland will stay where they are. England may drop. They might even drop. They might drop. So England, this has been a very bad, end of kind of tour for them, end of the autumn series for them. It's really, really been bad. But I guess, they're not getting blown out. So they're not getting smashed. They're keeping games close. So they're really going to have to put a statement in against Japan to really, not drop any further in the rankings. And then Fiji played a game against Spain. and only beat them by 14, even though it might not be their top team. But I'll make another video on those results as well. But I'll end it there. I mean, prediction ended up being right. I couldn't see it any other way than being a super close, high-scoring game for France versus New Zealand. So, few big games coming up this following week, and we'll definitely make a preview for all those as well. So, if you do enjoy the content, please leave a like on the video if you like it. Subscribe as well. It'll just show me that you guys want to see future videos. If you do want to see certain things, let me know as well in the comments. And let me know what you think about the games as well in the comment. What did you predict? Did you predict the All Blacks win or France win? I think a lot of people predicted the All Blacks to win for how they played against the Irish. But yeah, the French at home, they're a different beast. Away, it could be anything. But hopefully they're doing a tour of New Zealand next year. And hopefully they send their top team. Just really hope they do, because, the people miss out on a great spectacle. Even if they only play 2 of their games or whatever it might be with their top team, because they want to build depth, whatever it might be. But at least bring Dupont, all these players. That's the only reason why I don't like giving Dupont, the best player of the world again, because he doesn't travel. He only plays in Europe. When was the last time you seen him play in Argentina or South Africa or New Zealand? You just don't see it. Or in Australia, you don't see it. He doesn't travel with the team. He just stays in Europe, in his little bubble, and that's how he does it. So hopefully we'll see him play outside, but we'll have to see at that. But I'll end it on that. Hopefully you liked it. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.